Garden teachings, the son of a sin. In comes the idiot king. He built a wall and he built it high. But did you know that it's made out of pie? Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. The year of Ford, 1939. The TV culture's in hyperdrive. The Kardashians on a wild acid trip. The brave new world takes its first sip. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. Yeah. Oh, to be from the land of the free. Oh, to be from the land of the free. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. The fog moves, I'm struggling to think. My eyes are my brain and my head's in the sink. A light happening where it doesn't exist. To the jungle bar, babe, it's a trip. Ooh, ah. Yeah. Ooh, ah. Oh, to be from the land of the free. Oh, to be from the land of the free. Oh, to be from the land of the free. Oh, to be from the land of the free. Yeah. Marching men with bewitched eyes, heads now working in disguise. Feet keep marching towards your demise. Hear the sound of dystopian cries. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah. Ooh, ah.
This is XS Manchester. I'm joined by the Blinders. Evening, boys.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good. Thanks for coming in. Cusp of the debut album release. Well, not quite cusp. The cusp of the cusp, I guess, because we're a little way. Does it feel like it's a long time coming? Because I feel like you guys have been spoken about like this up-and-coming band and the debut album coming for a couple of years now. So does it feel like it's been a while?
Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
We've been sat on what we're working with now since November. But you know the way the world works, we've bided our time and through that then took our time with who we work with, how we do what we're doing here. And we've finally got to a point where we're happy to release what we've been doing for the last 2 years. So it comes to that, really. But yeah, it does feel like it's been a long time.
Does it become frustrating? You say you've had it since November, it's been in the bag, and obviously you want the world to hear that as soon as possible. Is that a frustration and you're kind of starting to go, well, we want to do the next thing now, we want to move on, or are you okay with that? Does that sit okay?
Yeah, maybe frustration's the wrong word, but you know, we are now starting to do new things. So obviously we've sort of grown out of whatever we were doing in November, but it's still very much real and means a lot to us. And the message is still there, which we injected into it. So yeah, for us perhaps, but by no means have people heard what we've heard and what we've seen. So I think we can wait a little longer.
You're right. You're patient with it.
Patient with
Fair
it
enough.
a little longer. So.
New album's called Columbia.
That's
now,
correct.
for me, musically I grew up in the mid-90s. So for me, I hear Columbia.
Is this the Oasis
It's Oasis.
thing?
So
Yeah.
is there any connection there at all, or is it a complete coincidence, or is there something else? Do you like your coffee, or what is it?
There is no, there is no correlation between the two. Unfortunately, we didn't realise there was a song called Columbia.
No way. I'm not having
Forgive
that.
us for our ignorance, but not until we had someone approach us and say, "That's an Oasis song." And, So no, sorry about that.
Fair enough. Sorry, did I interrupt someone then?
No.
Okay. So you've been together a while, as I said. You've been on the scene for a few years. You've been together as a unit. Did that make going into the studio to record the debut much easier? Was it like you went in there, you knew the songs you were recording, bashed them out, or was that almost more difficult having that relationship with each other where you were clashing heads?
Suppose it made it harder because we went in just taking it for granted, thinking it would be easier, but it was actually a lot more daunting than you think, and then a lot more difficult. We found pretty instantly as soon as we got in there that it isn't all what we thought it was. So.
What were you expecting compared to what you got then? What was the difference?
Rainbows and
Yeah,
sunshine.
we thought it'd be a bit of a breeze, but we soon found out it wasn't. It wasn't all that.
Did you manage to stay tight during that process?
As us as people, yeah, definitely. But it was we had our quarrels, didn't we?
Well, I suppose everyone does, but I mean, because it was so intense and the music that we play is so intense, naturally there's gonna be a high level of testosterone. You're going in doing takes, and you come out of that take and you're on top of the world. So naturally, people become in the firing line of that. It's the same reason why when performers come off stage, you take half an hour to cool down, and we couldn't do that there. It was so fast.
Was it as intense being in the studio? Did you find it as intense performing in the studio as you do on stage then? Was it the same kind of energies involved?
We took measures to try and create that in the studio. It was almost like a synthetic show in there at all times. So you can imagine how that just led to some ridiculous blurs that we don't remember. But for what we've got out of it, I think we're incredibly proud, and we wouldn't do it like that again. But
That's really interesting, because a lot of bands, when you hear the music on albums, it's a kind of very polished, clean version of what you might hear them do live. Do you guys feel like you've captured your live essence without wanting to sound too ridiculous on the album?
Yeah, I think like I say, we tried to create a synthetic version of that, but on some of the tracks it was never going to work like that. So there are tracks on there that have totally pushed the boat out and been pushed that far to the left, if you like, that people wouldn't expect it from us. So you'll hear the introduction of piano, of strings, of almost ballads.
Right.
But no, that's the wrong word. But no, the introduction of piano and strings, and it was a lot of fun to make it. I think that was what we took from the studio more than anything, more than the quarrelling, was how we had instruments at our fingertips to just go away and create something that we've never created before, and we're incredibly excited to make the next one, let alone release this one.
I've heard you talking about the creation process and the inspiration behind your music before, and what I think is interesting is you don't just cite bands as your inspiration. There's political events, there's literature, there's art, there's history, all seems to come together, and you cite that as influences. Is that a conscious thing, to go out and look for different sources rather than just going, let's listen to music from the 70s and see what that brings, to actually spread your vision a little bit further?
I thought it's always been quite a natural thing for us, and that's just what we're interested in, I suppose. So I think because a lot of the songs start with lyrics, a lot of the inspiration comes from literature, for example. It just seems to be a natural link there, I suppose, and writing about what we see, so therefore the political events come into that, and so it's always been quite a natural progression, I think.
On the political stuff, the worldview at the moment is we're in a pretty bad place. You've got a lot of stuff going on that certainly the left side of politics don't particularly agree with, like Brexit and Trump and North Korea and South Korea and problems with Russia and all this stuff going on at the moment. Now, traditionally, bad stuff in the world leads to good music.
That's
so
what we say.
Do you think that's what's going to happen at the moment? Are we going to be in
Well, you
this
tell
rich
us,
vein of
is it
music?
good music we're playing? I don't know.
Well, not from just your point of view, from a world
Sure.
point of view. Do you think? Do you feel like when I know you were backstage at Kendal recently, so you're mixing with your kind of fellow musicians. Do you feel there's an angst from them or an anger from them that they want to express? Because I guess that's where it comes from.
Yeah, definitely. I think if anything, there's almost a frustration. We talk to friends in bands that want to talk about these things, but either almost they're not brave enough to do so because of how they might be treated as musicians.
Yeah, a lot of people shy away from
They
that
do,
side
yeah.
of things, don't they?
And it's interesting how people think that if you touch politics, oh no, well we're not going to put them on. But it's not like that at all. I think it's incredibly important to have a voice and use that voice. And music is about saying what you see. It's an illustration of your own world, and it's, in our sense, we've tried to hold up a mirror to society, and that's all we're doing. It's cheating, really. It's all there in front of us. You can go through all the dystopian novels that you want, but all you have to do is flick the news on, and there you go, you've got a song. So
I like it. I think we need that. I think that's good. So, album number 2. Let's start thinking about that already. You can pick one Mancunian music legend as we're in Manchester to
Clint
join
Boone.
you on the album. Clint Boone.
yes,
A bit of a Hammond organ on the new album.
There you go. You know what? That is actually a really good shout.
That is a good shout, yeah.
Clint Boone on the
I'll take
Hammond
full
organ. Yeah.
Well, he's next door, so we'll ask
Easy.
him straight after this. We'll get him in and we'll have a chat and see if we can sort that out for you. Nicely done. Right, before you go, I've got one question for you, and I ask everyone who comes through the doors at Excess Manchester exactly the same question. So it's your last request. You have one song left to hear on planet Earth. It might be that song plays and then everything fades to black, or it might be that you're stuck on a desert island and you have the same song over and over and over and over again until you finally shuffle off.
It's got to be the end of the doors, hasn't it?
It's got
an
to
obvious
be.
choice.
It's got to be, man.
It's a great
I could
choice.
see it in your eyes. I knew you was going for it. Yeah.
Or Toto Africa.
Give over.
There's two very different songs there. They're two great songs, but they're two very different songs.
One was a joke, I'll let you guess.
I like both of those songs. Right, Blinders, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Jim.
appreciate
Very much.
it.
All right,
Cheers,
mate.
Jim.
Good luck with the new album. We
Thank you
look
very
forward to hearing it in a few weeks' time.
Thank you very much.
The boy gaze is all about. He is the center of orbit. He is the center of town. He is the center of the trees and the granite buildings and the 1960s concrete bridges and the factories. Well, they were just making electric fridges. He is the center of nature, but not just the seagulls that spiral, but the salmon of Alaska. And they spin, 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 until the world stops turning around. The king cobra is hypnotized, and the dogs they lay with dumbness in their eyes. He is everybody, he is he, and he is she, and he is the teacher and the poet on the street. All looking up, all feeling at one, but completely out of touch with the world. Yes, we are the neighbors that will never meet, in a world that says we're done with continuity, and we're done with you, and we're done with me, and we're done with the salmon of Alaska. And I'm gonna spin, 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 until the world stops turning around. So the boy considers his prospects. He considers his truth. But he sees a world of walls and cameras and censored floors. He feels at the center of a world which does not want him to be, which does not want to hear him speak, which does not want him to succeed. All the while, he is at the center of a generation with memories so short, memories which they choose to abort. Yes, because it is easier to forget than to contemplate on what we saw. Yes, it is much easier to forget than to march our feet up to their doors. The doors of those who stand on inherited lands and declare that you cannot have. Well, it is his to have, it is hers to have, it is ours to have, and I'm gonna spin, 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 and I will spin until the walls come crashing down. Yes, I will spin until the walls come flowing down. So the boy starts to dream. He dreams of the most dangerous of dreams. Dreams of a world in which he, she, and me and the salmon of Alaska are free. Free from the power of a man, and free of those who say that you cannot have. Free of those who sit in their golden baths, free of those who have the last goddamn laugh.